Am I being insecure or are my instincts right? My 29 female husband, let's call him Ken, 31 male, lived together with our 3 kids. Before the pandemic, my friend, Angela, 32, moved into our spare bedroom cause she and her husband split and she needed a place to stay. Ever since she moved in, my husband started making comments about how pretty she is, and I felt he was only trying to make her feel comfortable, but it got worse. My husband works from home and I don't. Angela is currently unemployed, and I pay her to take care of the kids. All of a sudden, she and Ken became so close. They give each other tight hugs, and they are very physical with each other. They also go out together and use the excuse that I'm not always home. He also said he prefers her meals. I don't know, but everything about them seems sketchy. I and Ken decided to go out for dinner, and Angela decided to come with us. I said no, but Ken said she will be lonely as the kids are with his parents. I was done with my makeup and walked down to Ken telling Angela how beautiful she looked. I asked him how I look, and he said, "You look amazing, baby, but Angela looks like an angel." I lost it. I basically threw the both of them out. I also went to pick up my children from Ken's parents, as that's where Angela and Ken are currently staying. Ken has been trying to contact me, but I am not answering. I've gotten messages from my parents and his calling me an a-hole for throwing my husband and my homeless friend out of the house over my insecurities, and I told them to duck off. She went with him to his parents after you kicked them out. She really had no other place to go. That really doesn't sound like the actions of a husband who wants to distance himself from this situation. Your self-confidence is admirable. Do not doubt yourself. The audacity of a husband to disrespect his wife that way in front of her children and her friend sounds like a man-child. Even if he was doing it as a joke, still a man-child that sucks at making good jokes. I assume you would never do that to him if he ever brought home a male friend. For him to think it was fine to do that is just, ugh. Bravo for having the courage to act in response to this, as many women would just cry about it or simply let it slide. You deserve better, and he's got to own up to the fact he honestly did not treat his wife in the best way he could have. Update. So my sister-in-law reached out to me cause she wanted to hear my side of the story. She said Angela and Ken's story didn't make sense. I explained what happened. Turns out, Angela and Ken made up some stupid stories about the situation. She didn't tell me what the story was, as she didn't want to make me more angry. She came over to the house with Ken, with my permission of course. She took the kids for a walk so I and Ken could talk. Turns out, I was right. He said they just naturally grew closer cause they were always at home with the kids, and she opened up to him that she was kinda jealous of me, cause I have a high-paying job and I get to travel around the world while being paid for it. I work for an international businessman and my work involves traveling with him. Also, a lovely marriage, and I have my life together while she doesn't. His compliments to her while demeaning to me was his own way of helping her. And they started having about 6 months ago, and they only did it a couple of times. I don't believe him. And he still felt pity for her cause she's going through a lot. He cried a lot, but I don't care. Cheating isn't a mistake. He can cry forever. I don't care. He wants us to go for marriage counseling and therapy. The audacity. I told him no, that I was done, and he threatened me, saying if I file for a divorce, he's going to fight me for custody, and he's sure the kids will want to be with him since I don't stay at home much. He also accused me of neglecting my family, and if I had worked less, this would have been avoided. Funny how his salary could barely feed one person, and the only reason I work so much is to pick up the slack so our kids will lack nothing. So I'm done. Everything that belongs to him is out of my house. My house, cause it's mine. My in-laws have sent him and Angela out of their home, and they've been sending apology texts every hour since then. My sister-in-law is currently staying with me, and my boss gave me a 2 weeks break so I can figure it all out. Haven't heard anything from Angela, and I don't want to. Ken has been trying to reach me again, posted silly stuff on his Instagram and Facebook page asking his followers to beg and tag me. The next time he'll be hearing from me is when I serve his divorce papers. So this is currently where I'm at. Update 2. Here's the news. I filed for divorce and my boss is allowing me to use his lawyers. A great advantage as his lawyers are one of the best. I'm also filing for full custody and child support. It feels like my lawyers are more interested in the divorce than I am, as they are milking Ken for all he's worth. I made sure to tell our mutual friends what Angela and Ken did to me, and they've been supportive. Some of them have made it their duty to cuss Angela out on Facebook. My boss is so lenient and amazing that it makes me cry. I'm going to be taking care of the business here, and we've employed someone who will travel with him. But we have an agreement that I will be traveling for important presentations, which might occur once in 3 months, and my kids will be staying with their grandparents during that time. We'd rotate between the grandparents from both sides. Since my sister goes to college around my area, and due to the pandemic, all her classes are online, She wants to live with me, so my house is currently full, as Ken's sister is also there. I'll be paying the both of them for babysitting whenever I go to work. I'm also currently looking for a nanny, as I can't leave my kids alone with 2 teenagers. My kids are still kind of confused about what is happening, but my eldest daughter knows. She basically told me she was the one looking after her younger siblings, as all their dad did was stay in the room with Angela all day. I was scared they were going to keep asking about their dad, but seems like they are pretty happy and they love being with me. Heard Ken and Angela are still fooling around. So I filed for divorce, served him. We were trying to negotiate a settlement, but Ken is trying to claim half of my money. We don't even run a joint account. He wants joint custody also, which is only going to happen in his dreams. Our trial is in 3 weeks. Due to the pandemic and how the laws of my country work, our divorce might be finalized in a month or 2. My wife and I got married about 9 years ago, and my parents were initially thrilled about my wife. My dad started causing drama a few days into the relationship because I was spending more time with my wife than him. He started taking me away from her by taking me with him to go do stuff for the family business, saying he needed help. He then would take my wife for breakfast and other errands. It almost seemed like he would be extremely angry when he would see us together. As luck would have it, 1 month into the marriage, I found out my wife sent an email to an ex-boyfriend, telling him that she was now married and that she was sorry that it did not work out between them, and that he should continue his life and get married too. I created drama over this, and made the mistake of telling my sister, who told my dad. He then told me to break it off and that she could not be trusted. He also added that he never wanted to see her again, and that she is a woman of ill repute. Fast forward 2 years, and my wife and I are having a wonderful marriage. We are struggling financially, but happy. We are living in a home that is a major fixer-upper. A house that my dad would describe as a place he would not want to take his shoes off or stay in more than a few minutes. My dad has a moderately successful business and has had personal income of about $400K per year. He also has a 6,000 square foot home that only my mom and dad share. He constantly tells me that my wife and I should move in with them since we are living in such deplorable conditions. He at this point still talks bad about my wife and tells me to not trust her. I basically told him no. I am working at this point as his employee. Whenever I deal with my in-laws, they show me nothing but love. They also tell me that they are there for us if we ever need anything. They have helped us financially whenever we needed the help, without hesitation, something my dad would not do. Whenever my father would deal with my wife's parents, he would tell them that their daughter has ill morals and that she took his son away from him through her manipulative tactics. He also told them that their son was living the good life before marriage and now is in a ghetto neighborhood struggling to make ends meet. My father speaks to her family as if they are poor and don't understand that my path in life was good before meeting her. Fast forward 2 more years, and 2 more years of my dad causing trouble in my life and my wife's life. I've been working for my dad as an employee for about 4 years at this point. I rarely see him, but his managers are his henchmen when it comes to making me do random stuff so I go home late. My wife's father and my father have a conversation where my father-in-law suggests that they should join forces to get my wife and I started in some sort of business so that we can move up financially. My dad said, "No. This will spoil them. Let them feel the pain of poverty. If they don't like the place they are living, they can live with me." He also indicated that their daughter never experienced a luxurious life, and that if we moved in with him and have my wife work for him, that our lives would be more than set. I told him no. At this point, I had no indication that my wife was from a wealthy background. 9 years into our marriage, my wife and I are expecting our first child. We still live in the ghetto, and my in-laws are happy with both my wife and I, but my parents are cold-shouldering my wife. One day, someone tried to break into our home, and I called the cops. The police told us that gang activity is on the rise in our neighborhood, and that we should be vigilant. My dad told me that since you guys are expecting a kid and you live in a bad neighborhood, we should move in with him. The next thing I know, my mother-in-law is here, California, from England. She tells my wife and I that let's go look for a house in a safe neighborhood. We were surprised, but were excited that they wanted to buy us a house. We asked what her budget is for a home, and she said up to $3 million. I was floored. My wife had hidden her family's wealth so that I had no clue. She told me that she did not want to make me feel inferior. We both told her thanks, but we would find a home in the $500 to $700K range. She bought us the house and we moved in. On top of that, she deposited nearly $2 million into an account for us to start a business. Her parents told us that they were tired of waiting and watching their daughter suffer the way my parents were treating her. They were proud of me for defending her and not moving in with my dad where he could make her life miserable. They told me to quit my job with my father so he could not indirectly control me anymore and have me spend more time at work than home, and focus on investing the money so that I could set up a strong foundation for my wife and our upcoming child. The point I am at now is that I quit my job with my dad and am focusing on some new business ventures. My mom and dad hate me and my wife more than ever. My dad told me that he did not expect that her family was wealthy and that they are now throwing money at me to buy me. My father constantly tells me that they did too much for us and that they are spoiling us. My dad does not talk to me. My mom feels bad that I am accepting all this from my in-laws. My in-laws treat both my wife and I with the utmost respect and, from what I can see, just want the best for us. What am I doing wrong? Why do my parents hate me? Is it wrong to accept such a large gift from my in-laws? If your parents really loved you, they would be happy for you. Instead, they just want to control you and are mad that they can no longer do so. Quit your job with your dad and make sure they know, in a respectful but clear way, that a continued relationship with you, your wife, and any future grandchildren is entirely dependent on the respect they show for you, your wife, and your life decisions. Then, take the money and make your own business if that's what you want to do. You could also just invest it and live frugally off the income it provides so you can focus on your family. It's your life. We've been married for a few months. He's normally sweet, caring, but positive. I'm not sure. So a lot has been going on lately with both sides of the family, like couple arguments, sibling rivalries, in-law disagreements, and so on and so on. Every time someone complains about family issues or marital issues, Hubs pitches in and says, "Dumb her. If my wife did that, she'd be gone," and "Divorce his butt. If my wife did that, it's over." Or "If my wife did this, I'd open a can of whip butt." Or say, "Dang, I wish my wife did that just so I could show everyone how I'd make her pay." Basically, using me as an example as to how to react if he was in any of those situations. I talked to him about it many times, and he called me silly because he was just talking, hypothetically. But I mentioned how uncomfortable I was with how he's been talking about me hypothetically. So yesterday at my in-laws' house, where most of my husband's family were there, his aunt was complaining about her daughter-in-law stopping her 9-year-old son from visiting his grandmother, aunt, and how sad my husband's aunt was feeling. My husband decided to act like he's some sort of therapist and got started with his hypocritical situations, saying, "If my wife stopped my mom from seeing her grandson, I'd raise hell on her and her family. I'd make sure to get full custody and have her beg mom for visitation and then give her nothing." I was flabbergasted, astounded, petrified, floored. Everybody was just looking at me, waiting for me to react. I've seen some open mouths looking horrified, but my mother-in-law had a smirk on her face, which got me scared. She flat out hates me, but is cordial enough. I was so mad I wished I could disappear. My father-in-law thankfully defended me and told his son to knock it off. My husband turned his face towards me and saw how upset I looked. He smirked and said he couldn't believe I took offense to that, and asked if I really did. My face said it all. He said, "Come on, why you gotta take everything seriously?" I blew the F up, and that I've already told him many times not to involve me in his nonsense revenge stories to appear powerful and in control. I told him I was tired of constantly being treated like this and basically called him a mean-spirited a-hole, and that he isn't a therapist to advise people what to do, and told him that his bad vibes and bad advice weren't wanted. I took my purse and walked out, leaving him sitting there looking stunned. He then followed me outside, and I told him I was going to my mom's house. He said I overreacted to blow up like that and humiliated him in front of his family. Excuse me? I told him he humiliated me by saying what he said in front of everybody, and everybody else's reaction said it all. The argument didn't get anywhere. I just kept telling close family members about this, and they said something's wrong with my husband, but I don't know what it is. This is your sign to never have kids with that mess.